Hi, guys. Welcome to episode 636 of the Wildly Successful Lifestyle Podcast. I'm Heidi, and this is the first time I'm actually doing a video with my podcast. It's been a long time coming. I promised myself I would do it. And if I promise myself, here I am. Now, for some of you, you might recognize this little sweater. It is the sweater from the cover of my podcast. So basically, I've kept it for 6 or 7 years. I don't normally keep clothes that long. I'm fickle. But I kept this because I thought, it might be kind of fun if I ever do video to wear this sweater. So if you're on YouTube, you can see the sweater and you can see me, and I'm excited about that. But I'm glad you're here. Not only because it's great being with you guys twice a week, but also because together we're becoming the best version of ourselves, which is really how we change the world. Because for most of us, that happens at an individual level. I mean, there will be those Elon Musk who it's obvious the impact he has. But for most of us, we are making the world a more beautiful place in a more subtle way by being our absolute best. And that always starts in our head because our thoughts are the reasons we do anything. So keep hanging out here with me by following the show, maybe even giving me a 5-star review, which I know takes a little of your precious time. And I promise you that that's not lost on me. Okay, so this last week, I was listening to Amy Porterfield's podcast. She is an online business coach who is fabulous at what she does. She was saying that your comfort cannot be your strategy for success in your career. She said personal preference shouldn't limit your impact. Because growth often requires doing things you don't love so you can build the business you want. Now, she focuses on business, but that applies beyond business. I mean, it is 100% applicable to the other things you want in your life. Change doesn't happen from your comfort zone. So if there's something in your life that you desperately want to change, but you find yourself stopping short of changing it, you're going to find out why you do that right here in this episode. And what I have found fascinating recently is I've been hyper-focused on not allowing myself to get distracted. I've talked about that a few times. But I'm also super aware of my subtle thoughts that cause me to want to distract myself. And I attribute that last part, the subtle thoughts and subtle ideas of why I want to distract myself and how I notice those thoughts. I attribute that to my meditation practice. Now, I use the Way app. I talk about that. It's my meditation app. It really has helped me become aware of even the sneakiest little thoughts that cause me to hold myself back. And they are so sneaky. It's wild how subtle those sabotaging thoughts are, and also how powerful they are in derailing your most desired goals. Now, I've mentioned to you guys that I'm working on some online interior design guides that I'm creating for my Etsy shop. I've been working a lot on that. Now, I have one guide completed. It's 37 pages and it's up for sale on my Etsy shop. I'll upload the link to my show notes. So if you want to go see it or if you want to go take a look, but if you're considering a renovation, you might want to download it. If not, you can just sort of browse the link to see what I'm talking about. But I'm telling you this because doing this process has really tested me. But it's also doing this process after having years of meditation under my belt has allowed me to notice all the subtle thoughts and also to notice what those subtle thoughts would have normally caused me to do. But because I'm acutely aware of those thoughts, thanks to meditation, I've been able to catch the story I tell myself in real time and flip the script. So I'll give you a quick example. This first guide that I created, as much as I want it to, it is not going to sell itself. So I have to create marketing for it. And this marketing plan has to be consistent. It has to be eye-catching, and it isn't going to be successful right out of the gate just because I want it to. Isn't that how we always are? We just want it to be successful just because we want it to. And then somehow that doesn't help. But now this is where I caught that big story that I have subtly told myself probably my entire adult life, maybe even before. So I caught myself thinking about marketing that I don't really know what I'm doing here. These are my thoughts. This is what was going through my head. Like, I don't really know what I'm doing here. This probably isn't going to be successful anyway. I've put in work like this before and it didn't work. So why am I even bothering? Those are actually thoughts running through my head. Nice, huh? So I also noticed that kind of alongside that, I had this little story in my head where I thought to myself, and I told myself this, there's something I'm missing that other people have or they do to be successful with this. They have something I don't have. So why am I even bothering to do this? Now, those were very subtle, very sneaky, but very familiar thoughts to me. And they've probably been floating around, obviously, been floating around in my head pretty consistently for a long time. And I noticed that in correlation with those thoughts, which are often in the form of a story about myself, I noticed that after having those thoughts or hearing those stories, I wanted to reach for my phone to scroll on X as a way to distract myself from the discomfort of that tired story. And I realized that normally I would not really be aware of that story playing in my head. You know, I would just be thinking those thoughts subconsciously, not really even noticing them. And it would just cause me, without my knowing why, to distract myself in some way, either scrolling or going to do laundry, which I don't love doing, but it's easier than feeling discomfort, or maybe even just running to the pantry to eat something. These are the things I would distract myself with. So I would basically fall short of doing the things I need to do to be truly, really successful in my mind of what success is. So, but because I caught that in real time, I actually kind of laughed a little bit. I really did. This actually happened. I'm not making this up. I actually laughed a little bit to myself and I said, no, that is a story I no longer believe. And I pushed through it. I didn't grab the phone. I didn't go do laundry. I certainly didn't go grab something to eat. And this happened not just once, but several times when those thoughts would come up and I wanted to distract myself. And I want you to remember this. It was so sneaky and so subtle. Now, you also have these subtle thoughts too. I know you do because you're human, and that is a human thing. And your thoughts may be very different from mine. They may not be the same. You may have subtle thoughts about your weight, like I'll never be thin. It runs in my family to be overweight. Or you may have subtle thoughts that happy relationships are for other people. Happy relationships don't happen in my family. And if there's a strong desire that you have that hasn't come to fruition in your life, there's a story you're telling yourself about it. And that story is constantly running, and it is very subtle and very sneaky. Now, for me, catching that story that I was telling myself was wild to see in real time. Not only catching it, but catching it and flipping the script. You see, those stories, they'll subtly sabotage you in a way that feels very normal and comfortable to you. So there's no alarms going off saying, hey, you just derailed your goal by thinking that thought that stopped you from taking the action you need to take to reach your goal. So then, of course, you don't reach it, which confirms the story over and over. And it's not really a big deal to you because you've been living with that story since you can remember. But that is our work. First, to catch the story, and next, to flip the script. You know, awareness is such a powerful gift that you give yourself through quieting your mind. And when you quiet your mind, you start noticing the thoughts you have. And when you start noticing the thoughts, you also become aware of the story playing in the background. That often is the reason you do the things that you do. And that, my friend, is the work. It's the work that we all have to do. My challenge to you this week is to pick one area where you want to see change and see if you can catch it in real time. See if you can catch that story that keeps you from making that change. And when you notice it, give it a little laugh and then tell yourself as many times as you need to, that's a story I no longer believe. And then push through the discomfort of taking the action you normally wouldn't take. Share this with 3 people who have thoughts. I love you guys. I'll talk to you in a few days.